All right. As Amy stated, we obviously don't have anyone joining us tonight. There's a lot of things going on, but we are recording these, and there's several locations that we are putting these recordings, so they are being watched. So I appreciate you taking your time to join us tonight and share some of your insight. And what we'll do is we just have some questions, and I'll go ahead and ask the questions. And if you just want to go around and answer if you don't feel like you have anything to share with that answer, that's fine too. You don't have to answer all of them, however you feel comfortable. All right, so the first question is, what is the most powerful experience you have had while attending another site visit?
Okay, I'll jump in. So Erin Spees and I work in West Fargo Public Schools, principal at Legacy Elementary. And I think one of the most powerful experiences that I've had on a site visit is just being in another learning environment and instructional space and seeing the ideas. And so I find myself the best learning site visits experiences I've had are when I can see things in action, take pictures of things, bring those ideas back to my team, and also be able to talk with someone, whether it is a learner or a staff member at the site visit, and have them kind of explain what those things are that I'm seeing, or watch the kids experience them or the teacher instructing it in the classroom. But I love bringing ideas back. I've been able to do that with a lot of pictures and then explain those ideas and share them with staff and try to help them understand what I experienced on the site visit through pictures.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, very similar in a lot of ways. I've had a lot of staff who've been able to do site visits, and I think it's just that seeing. They're hearing about it, they're learning about it, but just to have that concrete model so that they can kind of see what it might look like, and then being able to make it their own when they bring it back to the building is very helpful. And then the other piece for me, it was talking to the learners and really hearing how much the learners knew and understood. And that's what was meaningful to me. And that's what I've been able to bring back to my staff, is talking about how the learners can really do this. They really have a lot of abilities to understand what they're learning, and then to also be able to explain where they are at in their learning. So that was super powerful for me.
I think for high school, the collaboration and just, again, piggybacking off of everything Erin and Jody shared, is just all the new ideas, and then seeing things with different eyes, because you kind of get ingrained in where you're at. And so being able to see something differently from a different angle is so helpful. So I think that's what's powerful about visits.
Thank you. Next question. What are the benefits of site visits for the stakeholders involved?
I'll start this one. I think for us, it's being able to celebrate what you're doing in your building and feeling like you are making a difference. So, I think about the site visits that have happened even in our building, and teachers going in and talking to teachers. I think they feel validated that they're doing something and it's different and it's making a difference. And then in some of our site visits, we've had students involved, and, at the high school, hearing them talk about and proud of their school is just really, it's a celebration. It's really fun.
I agree 100% with Pam. And it is the validation, the celebration, and the excitement that then goes forward, and it just fills your bucket and it continues and keeps you going on that trajectory of working hard and knowing that you are on the right path.
Yeah, and absolutely would echo the same thing that Pam and Jody said. And then the benefits, I think, for the stakeholders attending a site visit, so what we were talking about last time, of some people need to be in it to see how it can actually work. And you can kind of debunk that myth of, well, oh, my kindergartners could never do this, right? Or my first graders could never do this. And so when you bring staff to a site visit and they're seeing that work happening in those different grade levels, it's like light bulbs start to go off. And so you can really use it to build momentum with staff when they see it in action.
Thank you. What advice do you have if I'm coming from a different size school or position?
We've had that experience. We're a small school, but we're also a title school. So we have the availability of different interventionists that other schools don't have. And so we've had people come in and look and watch and ask those questions and try to help them tailor, because they might not have all the same interventionists. But then at the same time, we've also been able to see what other small schools are able to do. So we haven't had the reverse, I don't think, where we've looked at a bigger school and thought, how can we do this? But I know like a lot of people are looking towards us and asking the question, how can we make this happen? Because we don't have all of those extra bodies with some of the things that we're doing. So I don't know that I have a good answer for that, but I know that that is a constant conversation.
I think it's interesting that you asked that question. We had a very small school come and visit us here, and we feel like we're small for West Fargo, but honestly, we're very large compared to our small Class B schools. And we had a Class B school come and visit, and I was amazed at the collaboration and ideas, and just having people from a different school view what you're doing. They just see things differently. So the feedback they gave us was so powerful. And then the things they learned from us and can adapt was also powerful for them. So I don't think it matters what size you are, you're going to learn something from a visit. And I was kind of impressed, and I would definitely have smaller schools, Class B schools, come visit again, because we learned a lot from them, and I think they did from us as well.
I'd echo what Pam was saying is, doesn't matter your role or size of the school, you can pick up pieces of nuggets of information from anything. And so my advice would be just to go and attend. And also the connections that you make going on different site visits. I'm connected now to different principals or people in different school districts, and now feel comfortable, sending that email like, okay, what were you guys doing, when it came to student reflection? And it's just another thought partner where you can get more ideas and resources.
And I think that doesn't go just for size, but go across ages as well. High school teachers going and visiting an elementary school or vice versa is also so powerful, because they see engagement strategies that are working in a first or second grade classroom, and they're like, oh, wow, why aren't we doing this? And even just seeing what the students are doing at those different levels is so helpful for expectations at a high school level.
That's a great point, Pam. Thank you. What were the struggles of planning a site visit, and what advice do you have to combat that?
I think the new teachers and being afraid, and just, are they going to judge us, and, things like that. That was a struggle. And I don't think it matters anymore. Our teachers are pretty open, but every year we're growing so quickly. We just have so many new staffs every year. But that struggle, and just getting teachers to open up and be transparent about what worked and didn't work, because that's when you learn, and that's when you grow, is when you're fully transparent, but just crossing that line and allowing that to happen.
Yeah. I've been fortunate in being part of 2 different site visits, one that I helped organize, and then another one that was actually in my building. And the first one, we were kind of leading the way. So we were developing the systems. And I think that was where it was tricky, because we didn't really have a full idea of how this was going to look or what we were going to do. So we had a lot of extra time where we were developing. And since then, the fact that we have these guiding documents has been so powerful. So that's been very helpful. And then I will agree with Pam, some of our new teachers were just not ready. And then we just agreed that that was not something that they needed to take on right now, and really leaned on some of our teachers who were just ready to go and ready to show. And I guess one other piece was the scheduling piece was a little tricky because of the way our schedule was in the afternoon. So just being very purposeful, because I think when I look at our site visit, our morning was well attended and well organized. And the afternoon, we had so many pieces with specialists and lunch and all of that. that the afternoon wasn't as beneficial, but I know we are looking at different ways to make that afternoon more beneficial across the board where it's not a full site visit, but and maybe Erin can speak to what the afternoon looks like, where instead that's more of a learning time instead of in the classroom time.
I think something that was maybe a struggle at first also was this idea of we're gonna have a site visit, people come see personalized learning, and it being a really broad idea, and this concept of maybe schools feeling like, oh, I have to be doing all 6 pillars of personalized learning for people to come see it happening in my building. And this year, in West Fargo, what we're trying to do is narrow the focus. And so instead of thinking about seeing all these elements of personalized learning, focusing in and narrowing in on one element. So, you know, our buildings really focus on building relationships and that piece of personalized learning. And so highlighting that, and that's what people can come in and see, I think has been a good adjustment. And we're excited for that. And then, like Jody said, shifting this year to engaging in a site visit, getting out into educators' classrooms in the morning, and then offering some professional learning or professional development for the people who are attending the site visits in the afternoon in that same area or focus area, I think is a really cool opportunity and makes that experience more meaningful. To be out of your building for a full day, you want to know that you're coming to see some good things happening in person and what it looks like, but then also maybe you're going to get pushed a little bit in your own learning and understanding and how you can apply some of that and what you saw into your practices. So PD in the afternoon is a cool opportunity that we're layering in this year.
And I think at the high school, just to add on to that, one of the powerful pieces was not, I mean, classroom visits are one thing, but then having that time for collaboration between groups, whether it was teacher to teachers, and allowing that space for meaningful and purposeful collaboration. That was also extremely helpful during the site visit. And we did the same thing with students. We had students sit in on collaboration sections, and that was extremely helpful for people coming to see, because then they heard from the student voice.
Thank you. What is an effective way to provide educators feedback celebrations after entering their spaces?
So the year that we hosted a site visit at Heritage, what we did was we had educator panels at the end of the experience. And for a lot of our staff who were opening up their doors, we tried to get them then into the panel where people who are on the site visit could ask them questions, give them ideas or feedback. So that was one way that we've done that in the past. And I know Jody and Pam have done some other ways of collecting feedback, but having an educator panel was a nice way for them to ask questions directly to the educators that they saw.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. And we also had students doing the work, if that makes sense, and leading tours and doing some of those things and celebrating those teachers. And we probably didn't do a great job of celebrating afterwards, but I think just recapping, I think, you know, teachers, when the others came in, it was, I don't know, at the high school, it was, they just loved having somebody from another school in talking their same talk. So whether it was science or math or whatever, they loved when they came in and could collaborate back and forth and exchange things. So I think that in itself was just kind of nice for them to be able to do.
So in supporting another elementary school, they tried that Feldman model where somebody would push into the classroom so the teacher could come out and visit and hear all of that positivity. It got a little clunky because it disrupted the school day a little bit in the fact that somebody had to be available to push in and then the teacher was coming out. And so that was a little tricky. So then when we did our site visit, we just encouraged people to ask questions on the spot or give that feedback on the spot. And then we included the survey at the end to get that feedback. And then once we had the survey, I took the questions and I split them up at a staff meeting and had groups look into their own data and then basically celebrate one another. Like, what are you seeing? What are the positives you're seeing? Was there any corrective feedback or questions that would be beneficial to the group? so that they could have that good collaborative conversation afterwards and celebrate at just a quick staff meeting after school one day.
Pam, I know you mentioned a little bit about bringing your learners into some of the site visit work. How do you include learners in a meaningful way in the site visit?
So our learners were a huge part of the site visit. So they did all the touring of the guests. So they met and they broke them into groups and they took them around to the different classrooms. They talked to them about what they wanted to see. And then we had an actual student panel where the different groups got to just meet with them, and none of us were even around. So they got to ask very transparent questions. It left us very vulnerable, but we really appreciated the feedback because they didn't, like, our students won't hold back. They will tell you like it is. And so we had an outside KnowledgeWorks sat in with them and recorded all of the feedback, and our stakeholders asked students questions about anything they wanted in our model here at Horace. The feedback we got was extremely helpful. So although that was scary and, very left us very vulnerable, I think the information we got back led us to some major changes that we have made and keeps us moving forward and keeps it student-centered. So that's how we have involved them.
Yeah. At the elementary level, we have ambassadors that are fifth graders, and our ambassadors supported more as hostess and hosts that they just kind of showed around the building. They answered questions if people were wondering where to go, room numbers, things like that. We didn't involve them in a panel at this point, but I love the idea of involving them in that way. We do use some of our students in our PTA conversations, so it is actually carried into our parent-teacher association, and they're able to share. They're a little they don't speak well all the time, as far as being able to share all of their information, but something we're working on, trying to get them to be able to be those good speakers, to maybe bring that back if we were to do another visit.
Yeah, I think another cool way to incorporate learners into the site visits is to give the people visiting a prompt of what to ask the kids when they're in the classroom, because to go in and engage with the learners and just ask them, tell me what you're learning today, is meaningful feedback for us too. Because if our kids can explain what it is they're learning, not just I'm working on this math worksheet, but what I'm actually learning, that's good feedback and data for us and things that we were working on when it comes to kids understanding where they're at in their learning. So that's one way at the middle level that we try to engage learners into the site visits, and at the elementary level too.
One last thing Northern Cass did, and we tried to replicate, however, snow days got in our way, but they actually brought students from Northern Cass to Horace High School, and they were part of the site visit and got to meet with our students, got to meet with teachers, and we wanted to reciprocate and send some of our students there. We're still going to do that, but that got squashed because of wonderful, 10 snow days. And it just so happened, I think every week we tried to do it, that got in the way. But that is our next step, and we're excited to do that piece as well.
I love that. Erin, you kind of led right into the next question, which is what type of questions should we ask learners?
Yeah, ask them about what they're learning. If they can explain their learning, we have done a really good job as educators, getting them to engage in the process. So one of the elements of personalized learning is goal setting and student reflection. And so that's why we really work towards that question. If kids can explain to us what they're learning, then they're engaged in the learning process and also having a kind of level of understanding of where they're at.
And I would say on top of that, not just what are they learning, how do they know they're learning? Like, how can they show what is the evidence that they know? And then are they able to really explain what their proficiency is?
Yeah, I'd agree. That's
And then one of the last formal question that I have is, we hear people say, I feel like I'm interrupting the learners or the teachers when I ask them questions. Am I?
Absolutely not.
not. No. In fact, I think our teachers and our students, like, they like to share and they like to get that feedback. And I think, that's what they respond with. The best part is because they get to collaborate. And I think all of us seek that collaboration, and we're just so isolated most of the time that this is just a chance to do that.
Yeah, I would say that's the biggest bucket filler for all of them. They love to be asked those questions and to share, and just to have the doors open and have people come in and visit is amazing.
Yeah, and to build off that, they feel a lot of pride in it when they are able to share and explain their learning with other people that are coming in and seeing what they're doing. And same for the teachers and educators. There's a lot of pride in what they've been doing. So being able to share that with others is really fills your bucket.
I think the best thing is when you're going on like you're walking around and you're with them and they walk into a classroom and they just ask a student of like some random student, and you're like, oh God, what's that student going to say? And then the student comes up with this answer and you're like, oh my God, they really do know what's going on. And they really are part of this class, so that I think is even the most rewarding for me, because I'm always afraid of that. Oh, why'd you ask that one? And no, it's been really cool.
All right, well, we just have a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to share just a quick note. A lot of the site visit tools that have been created within the network are posted on the hub, and that is a really great resource. So if you're looking for tools on actually planning, on ways to reflect with your learners or get them involved, or other education or educators, surveys that have been sent out, all of it. We have so many resources that everyone has been willing to share. I don't feel like you're starting from scratch. When you start to do your first site visit, use what we've been creating as a network team. So I just wanted to throw that plug out there, Jody.
Thank you, Amy. That's a good point. I know, Jody, you had mentioned, that it was hard starting without those things. So you use them now that we have those resources. All right, well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. It was wonderful to hear your thoughts and ideas, and I hope those that watch this video enjoyed as much as I did.